Accolade presents.
Hello and welcome to a look at a test drive for the Commodore 64, a game that was released by Accolade. The plot, if you want, of a test drive is that you are walking into your local dealership and the car salesman, because we all know how they are, can smell money, so he encourages you to test drive whatever vehicles he's got in stock. And thankfully, of course, it is a very exotic vehicle shop. So there's some quite spicy cars that you can go and take it for a test drive. Obviously, hoping to sell you one of his vehicles. The 5 cars available are the Lotus Esprit, the Chevy Corvette, Porsche 911, Lamborghini Countach, and a Ferrari Testarossa. When you decide to go for your test drive of said vehicles, you decide unfortunately to find the most inappropriate stretch of road you can possibly use to test drive a high-speed vehicle. The aim of the game is to go from checkpoint to checkpoint, which is marked by petrol stations or gas stations if you want. And as you can probably gather, as you reach the different checkpoints, the next one will be more challenging to reach, and you'll have to travel further in order to get there. As you go along on the road, you have, of course, the roads, curves and bends and all that stuff to contend with, but also oncoming and following traffic that has to be avoided, overtaken, smacked into, jumped over, whatever else you might want to do with them. The road conditions themselves are extremely uneven because of potholes and water slicks and all sorts of other interesting substances. And from time to time, in the top left corner, you got your radar warning, which of course will warn against police radars. And sometimes that will go bonkers, and when it goes bonkers, you will know that the police unit will show up, preferably behind you, miles behind you in your rear view mirror. But if they should ever catch up to you and get in front of you, you better stop the car or you'll smack into them, and they are not overly keen on that. You have 5 attempts to get through the game, and you can lose an attempt by smacking into a car, smacking into the mountainside, driving off the road, which is thankfully, not thankfully, I don't know, not shown. Or you can over-rev your engine, causing it to blow, because you are playing with manual gear. That is the only option you have available. There's no automatic gears in this game. There's one control setting where you can set it to be somewhat realistic, so you have to do proper joystick movements with the fire button pressed even, in order to get into the proper gears. I find that too gimmicky for my liking, so I am not playing with that setting. As you reach individual checkpoints, based on how fast you got there and your average speed, you will get a certain rating, and based on that rating you get a certain score, and the combined scores you get from the different checkpoints will be your final score once you game over or complete the game. And of course, if your score is good enough, you will be allowed to enter your name on the high score list. It has a fancy little icon showing which car you were using at the time of driving, which is, suppose, a cute little touch. The different cars control slightly differently, either lighter or heavier in their steering. And by the way, speaking of steering, the white dot you can see on the steering wheel, that is a visual representation of how much you are turning the steering wheel. And I don't know whether I find it useful or obnoxious. We're going back to the controls of the cars. The two easiest to control, I would argue, is the Porsche 911 and the Chevy. And again, my opinion, definitely hardest to control is the Lamborghini. It feels extremely heavy, especially at high speeds. The difficulty between the different cars is also quite noticeable. The slower cars, and we are just talking of slower cars in a relative term, of course, they have an easier time with the amount of traffic they face, and the faster cars, because of course that's more fun, has more traffic to contend with. And I suppose the upside to using the faster cars is the fact that you can actually drive faster and get more points for reaching a checkpoint, having been driving faster than one of the not as high performance vehicles that you have the option to drive. Graphically, I do not have a budget that warrants driving exotic cars, even if they are 87 models. So I don't know whether the interior is accurate to the individual cars, but I assume that Accolade would have done a certain something to make sure it looked appropriate. The drawn images of the cars, decent. They are easily identifiable, but I sort of wish they would have touched them up a bit more. The in-game graphics, though, on the roads and mountainside, is extremely bare-boned. The other vehicles are extremely blocky, and it sort of distracts a bit, or distracts and detracts a bit from the overall gaming enjoyment. It just feels so out of place. When it comes to sound, the music there is okay. I don't know what mood it's supposed to set up, but I don't find it overly exciting, but I do find it easily recognizable. And that's all I will have to say about the music. Sound effects. Sound effects are engine sounds, smacking into things, that kind of stuff. And for some bizarre reason, a Chevy sounds exactly the same as a Testarossa, which of course is a bit jarring. It would have been nice if some effort had been made to make the different cars sound different, but it wasn't to be. Now I can appreciate that there may be some excitement to be had from the concept of driving exotic cars, but I have always found that driving exotic cars on two-lane mountain roads is about as stupid as trying to do platform driving into a puddle of rainwater. The only thing you get out of it is extreme agony. And when it comes to this game, the scenario utterly ruins it for me. The game has no real sense of speed, which is no knock on the Commodore 64. I have seen other games run faster, so it is definitely not necessarily a system issue. But Beyond the spiffy cars, this game doesn't really offer anything that I couldn't get better elsewhere. And I'm not talking about modern games because something like Forza Motorsport would obviously be superior to this in graphics, driving experience, and whatnot. But even other driving games from that time were more fulfilling and exciting than this one. On that note, thanks for watching. Take care. See you next time. Bye bye for now.